To individual members.
I took turkey, I thought. I was pretty open to do it. I thought I grabbed turkey.
There's been lawsuits and everything.
He's got quite a. It's like, what is this meeting?
And it's just me and stuff. Not that you're counting,
Hey guys.
You know, when you go to Germany, you go to eat American food.
That'll be about 33.
You must be heading out.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Leave them at 5 Friday morning.
Oh, okay.
So that meeting's kind of
Sure.
off my agenda. Thursday night. Time you get home, you know, it's 10 o'clock. Takes you an hour.
Yes, I was thinking we did one more thing. Realize it.
Farmers market. We'll have to work it out with that, maybe we'll do something. What are you hoping?
It's okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Jennifer.
Maybe I would just.
You coming Thursday night.
Too long.
Yeah.
How about Nick?
That's right, I have.
I got a little bit of information from it, so I'll share it. I got some people have additional questions I can get back to. Give it a mix on them.
Well, you could get up.
Neil from the other township, I talked to him about it.
Okay.
What he's really
There's a
wanting
lot
to know,
that,
what should we be doing right
explain a
now
lot
for
because there's some
inspection?
things that just check off the list, you know?
Well, in our township, we have a guy
Yay, you know, but like actually people, you know, like people that actually go in the trenches.
There's several different options.
And, you know, and yeah, no, I never intended, but a lot of it's good, we need to do, because he does a lot of, everyone, you know, they want to have, you know, positive perception of, you know, our downtown, you know, everything, you know, there's such many ideas.
Good morning.
Good things we're doing.
We're gonna call our meeting to order, meter, but who's got one?
Right, right.
Good morning. I don't want to responsibility. Something happened.
It's time for our monthly ROCOG meeting. We'll call it to order and ask for you to take roll.
Mayor Norton. Councilmember Keen.
Here.
Councilmember Dennis.
Here.
Commissioner Rossman.
Here.
Commissioner Mueller.
Present.
Commissioner Sinjum.
Here.
Mr. Roder.
Here.
Mr. Schimmel.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mrs. Conley.
Here.
Mr. Benskoder.
Here.
Mr. Reimer.
Here.
Mr. Capper.
Here.
We have quorum. Proceed.
All right. First order of business is our consent agenda, which consists of the minutes from February 28th, 2024, and approving the amended bylaws. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Chair, just a little discussion. And this is, I'm perfectly fine approving these. Just looking at the, I'm kind of a bylaw nerd, I'm sorry, but I think for another day, maybe I could work with staff a little bit. I think we don't mention the purpose of the roll call in this. I don't think, and that could be probably codified in 2 or 3 sentences, but I think it would be a nice addition to the bylaws if there was a purpose. We can work on that another day.
And we did receive your email on that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be something we're gonna be bringing back as well, for some of that conversation.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, we've been digging in a little bit to past minutes when we've approved things at the city level about what ROCOG is and the authority, and we should probably look at those too, because it may need to be changed if we change our purpose.
All in favor of the consent agenda?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Action items. First is the adopt resolution 2024-05 approving the transportation improvement plan amendment for the 2024 carbon reduction funding to the North Broadway project. Do we have a motion?
I want a presentation.
Have a report?
You want to do that before the motion in the second, or do you want to put it on the table?
I like that tight ship though around here. Listen, if we don't stay 30 minutes, you gotta give those lunches back.
I got some ladies. All right, well, good afternoon. I'm Allison Sosa, Executive Director of ROCOG. I'll be presenting these items today. A quick recycled slide. You might remember this from last month. What is the TIP? The TIP is the Transportation Improvement Program. It is a list of, the 4-year list of all federally funded transportation projects in our metropolitan planning organization area, essentially within Olmsted County's area. ROCOG adopts this plan annually in the fall, and it essentially approves in concept all federally funded transportation projects in our area. And from time to time, amendments are required to make sure that these funds are being used efficiently. Some of the reasons are a project scope or budget change. And in this case, it's shifting of money might be required so that we don't forfeit all the dollars. So the request today is to move $155,000 of fiscal year 2024 carbon reduction program funding from the Willow Creek Trail Study to Rochester's North Broadway Reconstruction Project. There's a lot of words, but essentially it's $155,000 of carbon reduction federal money that needs to be used in this fiscal year. The technical committee looked at this on March 13th and recommended approval. So some information about the project. I want to start with, I know we talked about Willow Creek for a little bit of time at the last meeting with changing our work program and changing some contracts. This is separate from that. This Willow Creek Trail Study, where the money is being removed from, is actually, has been on the books for a while in our long range plan, as well as I believe Rochester's Park master plan, and it's essentially to extend the existing trail out to Game Haven Park. So why are we moving the money? Why are we requesting moving the money from Willow Creek to Broadway? So this funding was originally allocated last fall in September. And what we found was that it was really tough to get through all the federal approvals in a 9-month period. For reference, the second action item you have is going to be allocating money for fiscal year 2028. So that's looking at a 4-year period. This is looking at a 1-year period. It was difficult to get through that approval process. So Rochester has received additional alternative funds for that Willow Creek study area, so that project's not going away. It's just moving some of the money from that project, I say some of the money, I mean that $155,000 of carbon reduction money, to an existing federally funded project that has elements of the project that can be used for carbon reduction funding. That project is the North Broadway Reconstruction Project. It's the second phase from Silver Lake Bridge to Elton Hills Northwest. Really the part of that program, or that project eligible for the funding is the sidewalks, the shared path, and the cycling track elements to it. The project also has some pavement and traffic signal replacement and some intersection safety improvements. If there are questions about either one of those projects, Dylan is here from the city of Rochester to talk about them. I'm going too fast. This is what it's actually going to look like in the tip. So it shows that we'll be moving, if it's approved, we'll be moving some money from that Willow Creek Trail feasibility study up to the North Broadway Reconstruction Project. So happy to answer any questions you might have, and I have a recommended motion here. Again, this motion is recommended from the technical committee.
We'll put a motion now to approve resolution 2024-05 as presented on page 23 of our packet.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, so I just have a couple questions for clarity, and I did have a little bit of an update prior to coming here, but I still just want clarification. So when the city of Rochester goes to the legislature and asks for funding for the Willow Creek Trail, which we did for quite some time, we have a commitment to fund part of that. And I'm assuming that part of that commitment was ROCOG funding for our portion.
This was some funding that was available, and so we requested it. As Allison noted, we got into the details of trying to use federal funds for professional services, which we've never done before, and it became extremely challenging. We do have the other bonding dollars in that project that can fund this first phase of the project, so we wanted to make sure we don't lose this funding locally from our region. So Broadway's already done all the environmental documentation, it's ready to go, so we looked for another project that had federal funds, and that's why we made the request for this shift.
Okay, so, and that's getting to the second part of my question. So the first part was, does this affect anything that we said to the legislature that we would fund? The answer is no, that we're still gonna fund our percent fine, just from a different source. And then the second piece is, as we now go to North Broadway, we were funding a feasibility study. Now we're using the funds for a different purpose, for actual construction, and there's no issue there either.
It's all eligible within the carbon reduction
Great.
program.
Thank you.
Can I just to get a clarification, we're talking about the Willow Creek Trail feasibility study. Is that the same title as what we've got the state money bonding to do the Game Haven Trail under Highway 52? It's the same.
Or the same project.
But it says feasibility study. I'm just a little surprised.
Because we initially just said, could we use these funds to do the feasibility study? So we had to set aside a separate project number within the kit that Allison was talking about.
Just for the rest of the room, there is the thing we're talking about is a state bonded funded trail going from the Game Haven Park underneath Highway 52, and it terminates about 28th Street by the fire station. And we got 1.6 or so for and then we have our own match. And we thought we'd fund some of it with this, and it's just not working out. So again, I appreciate the, kind of the ingenuity to try to make sure we don't lose the money.
Madam Chair, did the legislature fund a feasibility study or a trail construction?
They funded everything from engineering all the way through construction.
But did they fund a feasibility study?
That's part of the engineering, that as you're looking at the alignment, and we haven't even done the, preliminary design to understand what's the preferred alignment of that trail.
I never thought the legislature in the bonding bill fund a feasibility. We call
It's our local language.
Not feasibility.
It's our local language. It is, I think as Dylan said, it's all the same project. Within there, there's subsets.
The bottom line, will the trail get built in 4 years?
Yeah, we need to make sure we spend the money.
It will.
Any other discussion? All in favor of resolution 2024-05, amending the carbon reduction funding?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Number 2, allocation, approve allocation of 3.03 million surface transportation block grant funds for fiscal year 2028 to Olmsted County's 18th Avenue reconstruction project.
Thank you. Yeah, a quick reminder slide. When we're talking about STBG allocation, we're talking about surface transportation block grant money. And we're looking today at $3.03 million available for fiscal year 2028. So again, 4 years down the road here. This is ROCOG's pot of money. So this is the money that you get to put forward to a local project. Not just a proven concept, this money being spent in our area. Solicitation began in February of 2024. We brought this before the board in January and showed you what that performance rubric looked like, the categories we wanted to look at. So the solicitation began in February, closed at the end of February, and we've been reviewing the projects in the last couple of weeks. 2 projects were submitted. Olmsted County's 18th Avenue Southwest project and the City of Byron 7th Street Northeast project. TTAC, your technical committee, recommended funding Olmsted County's project at the March 13th TTAC meeting. And again, the request is to approve the allocation of $3.03 million in fiscal year 2028 STBG funds to Olmsted County for the reconstruction of 18th Avenue between Mayowood Road Southwest and 40th Street Southwest. So just a little bit of information about each of the 2 projects that we received and reviewed. The first one here is really a combined effort from Olmsted County and the City of Rochester for 18th Avenue Southwest, County Road 147. Approximately a 2-mile reconstruction project to turn a rural section of roadway into a urban style of roadway that includes curb and gutter, sanitary sewer, walkway facilities, and street trees. The project itself will create a safer roadway configuration and will connect existing neighborhoods to other neighborhoods as well as to the city's comprehensive trail network. The second project was the City of Byron for 7th Street between 3rd Avenue Northeast and CASA 3. It's approximately 1.6 miles of reconstruction. It includes right turn lanes at existing and future intersections, as well as curb and gutter along the corridor. And I think it's important to note that this project really is a key community link throughout Byron. And I'll get to the justification in just a couple of minutes, but I wanted to kind of remind everybody about the timeline. So I said in January, we brought the rubric to you, asked for what categories we thought should be evaluated. In February, we really solicited projects. We're now in March, where the big star is, where we're asking to select the project and allocate that funding. And then next month, we'll send the selected project to the state. And the evaluation criteria. So there were 6. These really align with the priorities of the long-range transportation plan. Their preservation, safety, reliability and mobility, community vision, multimodal, and then we added sustainability and resiliency in January. And this is essentially the TTAC evaluation was. So I think it's important to stress that your technical committee really thought both projects were worthy of this funding. So I think it was a tough conversation to have. So what you can see before you is on, I guess, the left side are those 6 categories. And then what the technical committee did was we did a blind vote on for each project based on each category. And what you'll see is that Olmsted County really exceeded in system preservation, safety, and multimodal, while Byron exceeded in systems preservation and community vision. The technical committee's evaluation, I think, really came down to project readiness. Olmsted County is committed to starting construction on this project in fiscal year, I think just 2026. It has previous funding on it, where the timeline for Byron's project is a little bit more flexible. And I know Byron's representative at the meeting, stated as much that they're flexible and that they do plan on applying for funds again for fiscal year 2029. So when we come back here next year, we might be looking at that project. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I've got a recommended motion here for the board.
I'll make the motion to approve the allocation of the 3.03 million in fiscal year 2028 from the surface transportation funds for the 18th Avenue Southwest project between Mayowood Road and 40th Street.
I'll second that.
I would point out Byron does support the recommendation of TTAC as well, so we appreciate that. Any comments, questions?
Mr. Chair, just a question. How does the solicitation go? And I'm sort of thinking about Mr. Schummel's road on the west side or east side of Stewartville. And so do solicitations go out to the individual cities around the county?
So the solicitation works, there are 4 eligible jurisdictions. So it's Olmsted County, the city of Rochester, Stewartville, and Byron. And we do send that solicitation out to those 4 eligible agencies.
And so you got 2 back?
We got 2 back.
Yep, and what we're doing, we've got a bonding request in, and we've made the Senate list and the governor's list so far. So we're gonna play that out first, but then just so a heads up, we'll probably be next on this one if we don't get that funding, so you know that that's coming. And then our project's actually jointly with High Forest Township. It's a joint effort by both of us, so. Thanks.
And there are certain roadways that are eligible as well. Not every roadway is eligible for this funding. So it's a little bit of a matrix to figure out which projects which roadways are eligible.
2 clarifications. You mentioned that the bigger cities, and I think we talked about this in January, the other smaller cities can still apply through the county. I think that's how I understood it in January.
Yeah, I know the answer, or I know the question. And I think the smaller communities can apply through ATP 6. I'm wondering if Charlie is on here and wants to correct me if I'm misspeaking. But I'm not sure if it's actually eligible to apply through Olmsted County or if it would have to apply through the state. We got Charlie here. Let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, just real quickly. So the other cities need to have a sponsor and a sponsor that's eligible to receive funding. So the likely sponsor would be Olmsted County, but they could, if the county was agreeable, one of the other small cities could propose a project, and that could come to ROCOG as a request for this funding.
Thank you. And then one other point I wanted to make, this project does include the roundabout at Mayowood Road, or is that a different project?
This project includes the evaluation of the intersection with Mayowood Road. But
Okay.
We don't know what the solution is.
All right, that's good clarification. Thank you.
Any more dancing around questions? All in favor of the approving the allocation?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. We are on to, I'm doing my best, David, to get us to 30 minutes.
Don't worry, I think most of you were here early, so I think we'll count that time.
We are going to move on to our executive director highlight.
Yeah, I got a couple items for everybody, and then I am gonna, at the end of this, open it up to Charlie. There is a memo in the back of your pamphlet. I'll let him explain. Quickly, because of your last vote, we will not have any meetings in April. We were originally scheduled for 2. meetings in April. We'll be canceling both of those. So your next meeting will not occur until likely the end of May. I signed 2 letters of support over the past month since our last meeting. I remember them here, both for Olmsted County, but one was actually for the city of Byron, both having to do with congressionally directed spending for fiscal, I don't know, just for 2025, spending both along Highway 14, along CASA 3 and CASA 5. Both are supported by the Long Range Transportation Plan and the Highway 14 study that was completed in 2021. This gets to Commissioner Senjum's point, the role of ROCOG, that's going to be coming soon. So I did receive your email, and that is something that the team is going to be looking at. We'll be bringing something forward in the next meeting or two, based on what we find, with some recommendations. So we talked today about the carbon reduction program, an amendment to that. Fiscal year 2025 and 2026, that solicitation is actually open. So we'll be bringing forward a recommendation for the allocation of those federal funds probably in June. Those funds are only eligible in Rochester's urbanized area. So the only 2 eligible jurisdictions are going to be Olmsted County and the city of Rochester. And I believe there's $430,000 eligible for each year, 2025 and 2026.
And shares all transportation, really?
Yes, but there's a little bit more flexibility in these carbon reduction funds when it comes to electrification, and there's a bit more flexibility than some of the other funding sources. And then I've got congressionally directed spending allocations for 2024. Just to highlight there that Olmsted County as a whole, within Olmsted County, we received about $7 million for the 44 and 14 interchange, another 1.2 for the roundabout over by Olmsted Medical. So those are, I believe, construction dollars for fiscal year 2024.
Can I ask you a question about that? So when I got the call that we got the spending, I was told the language was different in the House and Senate, and that there might actually be additional funding coming more than you had requested because of the way it was worded. Has anyone looked into that?
We have not looked into that.
I have not, that's the first I'd heard, so we'll have to check on that.
There was
for
some
our
giggling
city
going
program.
on because they said they don't think that was the intent, but because the House and the Senate had different language, they thought there might be more money. So somebody should peek at that just in case. It'd be a nice surprise if it was actually more than we wanted.
And that was it for me, but I know Charlie had a little bit to say about MnDOT's open comments for some freight and rail plans. There's also a memo in the back of your packet, the very last page of your packet. But I'm gonna let Charlie, if he's ready, give us a real quick introduction to that.
All right, thanks, Allison. Just as she said, real quick here, MnDOT is in the early stages of updating 2 of their modal plans. One is the state rail plan, which was last updated in 2014. And the other one is the state freight plan. And that is actually, the need to update that is actually a federal requirement that has to be updated every 5 years. That was last done in 2018. As I said, they're in the early stages. Part of this first stage is public, accepting public input. So there's opportunities on each of these plans for individuals to go to a website, or websites, I guess I should, web pages, I should say, to provide input. And in the memo, in your electronic copy of the packet, you'll see these blue links that will take you directly to those input opportunities. So there's basically a survey with some specific questions. And then there's also a survey map, for example, that you can click to. And what that will allow you the opportunity to do is actually go into specific locations and add a pin with a comment so you can directly provide, specific comments about a location like a rail crossing, safety issue or whatever that you may want to comment on. And then the same thing applies to the freight plan. Again, there's a survey form with a series of questions to respond to, and again, a comment map that allows you to go in directly and offer comments in regards to specific locations or locations where there may be a need for future freight service, something like that, for example. So just wanted to make you aware of that. I think all these survey mechanisms are open for another month to 2 months. I think it was early May was when they kind of closed the comment opportunity. And with that, I guess if anybody has any questions, I'll try and respond to those.
I have a question as far as this, excuse me, this screenshot that you have up there of the state rail plan. If other people wanted to go to that, I know we have the link, but how could we redirect someone to take, like, what is the website or what is that there?
Well, so that's the link. I think the easiest thing, if somebody else wanted to go to it was just to have them Google Minnesota State Rail Plan.
Okay.
And that's going to take them right to the webpage for the rail plan, and that's where they'll find links to the surveys.
Okay.
That's basically what they'll see when they Google that is actually this image that I have here, this graphic. That's kind of the home. That's the home page.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Charlie? Thank you, Charlie. Any other business for the ROCOG board?
I had two things I wanted to bring up. One is, I apologize for missing our meeting in February, but I know we had this discussion, Allison, you kind of just talked about it with what the other responsibilities of ROCOG could be, and I missed some of that. I'm of the impression we're a municipal planning organization, and we're sort of in federal, defined out of federal law for how we distribute those funds. I'm trying to get a high-level summary of what else we could be, or are we going to talk about changing our charter, or what? Can someone give me a little bit of a summary of what's being discussed and how it would be decided? Dave or
I don't think anything's been decided.
What's that?
I don't think anything was decided.
No, I said that how it would be decided.
How?
Yes.
I can certainly try and respond to that. So you have to think of ROCOG as a freestanding entity. ROCOG was created through a joint powers agreement. That joint powers agreement was first adopted in, I believe, 1971. And basically all the cities, Olmsted County, and most of the townships are party to that joint powers agreement. So the current joint powers agreement actually speaks to what activities ROCOG can get involved in, kind of lays that out. So when we bring that back for discussion here in one of the next meetings, you'll see that. And I guess really, I think it's just important to keep in mind that ROCOG is a freestanding entity, separate from the county, separate from any of the cities. As you kind of alluded to, Member Keene, it is required by the federal government. Every urban area that has a central city over 50,000 in population has to have an MPO. And kind of the big stick, or the big carrot, I guess I should say, is that you have to have an MPO in order to be eligible for federal transportation funding. But the local community is given the ability on how to set up the MPO. And that's why the joint powers agreement is important, because the local community decided to sort of give ROCOG the ability to look at other issues beyond just transportation. And they were defined in that original agreement.
That's helpful. Can I pair it back to you and see if I'm hearing it? It sounds like ROCOG is a bigger basket, and one of the things it does is be the MPO. and it could do other things.
Correct, yes.
Right, then I'll think of it that way. All right, my second topic, and again, this is, I consider this group over the last couple of years, especially the county, has really worked hard to try to get the overpass of Highway 14. And when I look at the maps right now, I see how it goes north and connects back to 52. I think 75th Street's the plan. The county's got a lot of work to do that. But I don't know what happens to the south. And I don't know if that's some level of responsibility of this group to figure out, after we get a big interchange going on west of Rochester, how it connects back to the south. Is that sort of, if I'm in a municipal planning organization, I think that's our responsibility.
Are you asking about transportation specifically? Are you thinking land use?
I'm thinking of transportation. I'm thinking of how do you get from that new cool interchange back to the city? Is it just Highway 14? Is it like it terminates there and doesn't go south? Or does it connect, does it keep going south and connects to 40th Street or connects to, I'm looking at it and it seems to just end at the thing. And I really, the question here is more, do we have a responsibility or is that somebody else's thing to think about?
This in the 90s.
So I can take a shot at that as well. That certainly is within the purview of ROCOG's responsibility, and ROCOG is probably the best entity to address that question. If you actually look at our long-range transportation plan currently and look at the system map in that plan, basically County Road 104 going south from that interchange is designated as what we call a strategic arterial. That's basically the same classification as County Road 44 going north from the interchange. So the idea is that you do provide, or that there should be provided, a corridor that provides kind of a level of service that has, high mobility, some level of control of access to minimize conflict. And as part of our work in the Willow Creek area, one of the issues we'll be bringing to the committees involved in that project will actually be to look a little bit at how we should get, or what routing, what alignment we should be using to get from County Road 104 back over to Highway 63 to kind of complete that strategic arterial loop on the southwest side of the urban area. And then even kind of a longer term need or desire potentially would be to then extend from Highway 63 over to maybe the interchange on Highway 52 at Marion Road to kind of complete the loop. That would get you back to County Road 11, which goes all the way up the east side then as kind of an outer, loop road. And then on the north side, we have Highway 63 along with County Road 14, kind of providing the north part of this outer loop. So that entire loop is designated as kind of this high level strategic arterial type of system.
Okay, that's helpful. I'm just trying to scope. I think it's beyond our meetings here, but that is being studied.
Yes, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other business for today? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
For a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Never have to ask questions.
Area audited.